I just saw the Crow remake, and I am happy to report it's a fun bad movie. Makes you want to wiggle your finger. Because most super stinkers we've been getting in recent memory have been boringly trash or unwatchably abominable. It's so refreshing to be able to stew in my swamp ass in a nice cinema and experience a film that knows how to finally tap dance on the line between dog shit and holy shit, I'm actually having fun. Now, it's not a great movie by any means, so if you're going into that expecting it to be, you're going to be disappointed. But it's also not a good movie, so if you're going in there expecting a good movie, you're also going to be disappointed. It's so bad it's good, baby, and those are some of my favorites. Now, I want to be clear, I don't think the movie's awful or anything either. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people saying it's, one of the worst movies of the year or something like that. It's not. It's really not. There are things to like about this film. I was pleasantly surprised at how not unwatchably horrible it was. I went into this with the lowest possible expectations, and I was pleasantly surprised that I was having a good time with it. Even though it's probably not the great time it wanted me to have, because again, I'm someone who likes fun bad films, and I would definitely classify this as fun bad. But even aside from that, I do think there are a lot of things in this movie that people will just straight up enjoy, not even like ironically or as a so bad it's good thing. And I'll go ahead and get those compliments out of the way before diving into what makes it not a great film, and then getting into why I had actually a good time seeing it. So what I think this movie does really well is its action. Now, there is some CGI blood here and there, which you've just come to expect from most movies these days, so I wasn't like terribly let down with that. I was caught off guard by how competent the action was, especially its final fight sequence. It's set to like a full opera performance where the Crow is going around murdering tons of dudes in over-the-top fashion while getting peppered with bullets, blood and guts flying all over the place. He even has a sword with him the whole time, so he's just like stabbing people with a sword, and he's getting really creative with it. So he has godly powers, so he's not dying, and someone stabs him with the sword, leaves it there, and he feels all the pain, so he's like, ooh, ouch, ew, big boo-boo here. And he was punching a guy who's on the ground, so now he has the sword in his stomach, and what he decides to do is just slowly lower himself down onto the dude's head. So he's taking the sword that's in his chest, and he's just bringing the dude's head closer to it as he gets lower, and it just stabs him straight through the eye. And then another cool one he does is he puts the sword in someone's mouth and shoves it back, so just splitting their mouth, or splitting their head from the mouth down, and then like the jaw and everything just hangs. It's so silly in the best way. And it's all set and sometimes even synced to the opera music. I thought it was great, like actually great. Nothing bad about that except for like some CGI blood, which again, I've come to expect it from blockbusters, so I wasn't, taken out of the experience by it or anything. I really enjoyed that. And I also enjoyed the couple of other action sequences they sprinkled throughout the movie. Really, anytime there was action, it was good. Big problem, there's not a lot of it. The times where they do have action isn't until like over an hour into the movie, really. You go through an hour having to eat your vegetables with a terribly written drama that sounds like it's something straight out of CW, and then you finally get your dessert with the great action sequences when he becomes the Crow. Now, there is a little bit more I want to talk about there. I'm going to get into spoilers here. I have to get into spoilers here talking about this movie, because as you can tell, I enjoyed it. I understand it's not a good movie by any means, but it's a movie where I was very pleasantly surprised that it wasn't unwatchable, because the trailers and everything made it look truly atrocious. Like, everyone was talking about how the new Crow looks like Jared Leto's the Joker. And they're right. He does. But the way they lean into that in the second half of the movie, I was just sold. I was like, you know what? That's great. They're just unironically committing to this super stupid, like basically graffiti on a public restroom door level of tattoos for the Crow here, and just running with it. So then he puts on tattoo ink on his eyeballs and connects it to his lips, and just they whole hog sin that. And it's hard to even find it cringe at that point. They wore that on their sleeve. And I actually liked the style. The style I kind of came to appreciate. At first I was like, ooh, this is kind of lame and dorky. But by the end, when he's over there just murdering people while looking like he was in My Chemical Romance 15 years ago, I was like, you know what? I'm in. But that's really all of the good things I can say about the movie. There are also little bits and pieces of a good performance from Bill Skarsgård here as Eric. Now, I'm going to do my best not to compare this to the original because it was never going to stand up to the original. It never even stood a fucking chance. I'm just going to be talking about it on its own two legs here with its own merit. But Bill Skarsgård performance, like, there are times where he did a great job, but some of the material he had to work with was just pretty weak. I think he was great in all of the action moments, though. I really liked his portrayal of the Crow fucking obliterating dudes. It was wonderful. But now let's talk about everything wrong with the film, and hooey. I hope you're ready for a doozy. I wrote a couple notes. So first off, the pacing in this film is awful, and it really feels like a lot of this movie was cut, because there's like some characters that are like propped up to be somewhat important, forgotten about, and then brought back like we're supposed to care or even know who they are. So it feels like there's a lot of things in this film that just didn't connect, and whatever they filmed to connect it was just taken out during editing for some reason, or they lost the footage. Maybe the file got corrupted. I have no fucking clue. But the pacing is terrible, and their attempt to make you care about the characters and their relationship just really falls flat. Even though I do think there was like some good chemistry between Eric and Shelley, the writing, like the dialogue between them is just not very good. I wrote down a couple of their lines. So, first off, the narrative, I'm sure you all know what The Crow is about. Eric falls in love with a girl. They're madly in love. They then get killed in a terrible way. Eric is then given the opportunity to come back with some godly power to right the wrongs. That's the speed run of the narrative there. The main bad guy is a music buff who loves the piano, and he made a deal with the devil a long time ago, and the contract stipulates that he has to sacrifice innocent lives to send them to hell, and he gets to be immortal, basically. And the way that he kills people is by whispering in their ear, and then they kill themselves. So he basically just talks some shit. He gets into their ear and starts, you know, like the way they portray it is like the very cliche, like devil speak. But honestly, like when he just leans in and whispers and it's just a bunch of mumbo jumbo, I kept picturing Courage from Courage the Cowardly Dog going, and then like immediately they kill themselves or something. So like his power is stupid. But I don't mind the supernatural element of giving the main bad guy some power too, because the Crow has power, so it could be like a fun clash. Spoiler alert, it wasn't when they actually fought. We'll get to that later. But anyway, the beginning of the movie is spent fleshing out Shelley. She's on the run from that evil bad guy. Turns out her mom sold her to him for fame, fundamentally, and he was doing terrible shit. She eventually managed to escape, but now some things have changed, and the bad guy's trying to catch her and her friends, and he's already killed one of her friends. It eventually leads to her landing at rehab, where she locks eyes with Eric. And immediately after just like a quick glance, they fall in love. Because the next scene, Eric, who they've already established is like this outcast loner, like he doesn't really speak, he's super reserved, he's not all there, he's kind of fucked up. And the next scene after they lock eyes there, he's eating at a table. She walks over, says hi. He says nothing. He just completely just fucking like a statue of stone. Doesn't respond. She eventually cracks through that hard exterior, gets through that shell. And one of the first things he says to her is that he likes her tattoo. And the tattoo said, "Laugh now, cry later." And she made a remark about how that's kind of how her life is played out. And he says in response, verbatim, I wrote it down because I didn't want to miss this one, because you might want to use this on Tinder or something. It's a great line. He said, "My life is more like cry now, cry later." And then he like walks away shortly after. Just drops like some pure emo shit. He's like, "Yeah, I can't stop crying. Yeah, I cry all the time." And then he leaves. She then goes to his cell, and he's got a lot of art on the walls, and she was like picking up some of the art that was on the floor and noticed that there was a drawing of her naked. Keep in mind, all we've seen from this point is they shared a quick meal together, and he just says that he cries a lot. He fucking sobs all the time. And then she passes by his cell and sees that he has drawn a picture of her naked with her honkers out. And there is like a focus on the titties, it seems, in the art. And she takes it as a good thing. Like, she's super thrilled about that, whereas I think any sane person would be like, that's creepy. That's super weird. That's very odd that you've done that. I'm gonna leave now. But instead, she then goes inside, and they fall in love. Immediately. Actually fall in love right then and there. And then right after that, they escape together from the rehab facility. Because some of the bad guys had found out she was there, tried to catch her, and then they both skedaddle. So yeah, that's the level of writing that they set up for the characters here. So it's hard to take that seriously. It's bad, but I found it to be fun bad, because the writing is so silly. Now, after they escape, they just start having sex all the time. They just keep steaming ham, and that's supposed to showcase that they're really madly in love. Like, right after they escape, they go to a place that she knows, and then she immediately asks him, like, hey, so, like, you ever been seriously in love? Okay, neither have I, but I'm seriously in love right now. And one of the things she says, which becomes, like, a profound statement later, is, if you ever find it difficult to love me, just love me harder, or something to that effect. It was almost verbatim that. It's just so stupid. It's so dumb. They spend an agonizingly long time with this relationship that I don't think anyone's going to care about because it's just not done very well. The only way they even show that they love each other is by showing them fucking. Like, that's about it. That's the level of depth. Oh, and they go out all the time together, which is really stupid when it comes to the story in the movie, because she is on the run from the devil. She is on the run from the devil man and all of his associates that are hot on her tail. And they go out all the time. They go to clubs, they go out drinking, they have a ton of friends that go on vacations. I don't know how much time passes from the rehabilitation center to the time where they do actually catch her, but it doesn't seem like that long of a time period. It feels like it's only a couple months at most, and they're already like soulmates bonded together. But it's really stupid that the main thing they do is go out together, like clubbing and drinking, and that's eventually what gets her caught by the bad guys, because fucking obviously it would. They're basically like in witness protection here, trying to stay as under the radar as possible, and their number one hobby is going out in public as much as possible. Like, it wouldn't even be hard to find them. You just need to ask any bar in town, hey, have you seen Eric or Shelley? And they'd be like, oh yeah, they're regulars here. In fact, they're probably in the back right now. Like, I don't know why that would be the number one choice for people that are on the run from the devil, trying to hide from them. So the bad guys show up, and they kill both of them. And then that's when Eric becomes the crow. And that's when the movie finally gets somewhat interesting. But I actually liked how stupid all of that drama was, because I have an appreciation for So Bad It's Good, and it wasn't boring. And I love goth. Like, I'm a huge fan. I'm really upset that they didn't do as much with the goth atmosphere as I would have liked. I think there was a lot more potential to go even harder, even more unapologetically goth with a lot of what they were doing. But they pulled some of the punches in that regard. But they didn't pull any punches when it came to laughably bad writing. It was so fun watching these characters talk to each other and do the stupidest activities together. But even though I know it's turbo ass when it comes to like the first hour of this movie, I was just having a good time with it. Like, fucking Eric is dressing like Doflamingo. It's just so silly. But when he becomes the crow, things do improve a little bit. The action, I think, is great, but the problem is the bad writing persists, and then it stops being fun, shitty writing. So, let me explain what I mean by that. There's a couple decisions with the narrative that I think just really are nonsensically stupid. So, one of the stipulations of Eric having his power is that his love needs to be pure, and he'll be able to right the wrongs and bring her back and whatever. But the second his love even starts to waver a little bit, he loses his power. So he basically has to become the crow twice. Because he starts to doubt her after seeing that the devil man made her do something bad, which is really weird and out of character for Eric here, who's infatuated with her, so much so that he is going to fucking start murdering people to bring her back from hell. And he sees that she did something while being forced to by the devil, and he's like, oh, I can't even look at her the same anymore. Actually, I kind of hate that bitch. Can't get it out of my head. I think I'm gonna quit. So then his love starts to waver and he loses the ability to heal, so he gets shot with a shotgun and he can't heal it anymore. So then he like goes back and the guy's like, your love stopped being pure. You know, the enemy of love is doubt. Have fun in heaven now. Your girl's in hell. Your fault. And he's like, wait. Another chance. And he's like, okay. So he becomes the Crow twice, which I think is highly unnecessary, and it brings everything to a screeching halt. It didn't need to happen like that. That just was a totally useless thing, really. And there's a couple other instances where it just takes away its own momentum. Like, it takes the wind out of its own sails multiple times. Like, when he becomes the Crow, they're setting up great moments, some great set pieces, and then they'll do shit that nobody gives a fuck about. It makes no sense. Like, they already spent an hour building a relationship poorly. They failed to do that. But now, can you at least give us just like a good 30-40 minutes of the Crow just going on revenge killings here? Like, that's satisfying. It's the simplest formula ever. But even when they're stumbling, I'm having a good time with it. Like I said, it is a fun, bad movie. Like, by no means is it a great film, and also by no means is it some, like, unwatchably horrible film either. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of people saying, like, this is just as bad as Borderlands or something like that. It's just not. It's not even close. Even if you're not a fan of fun, bad movies, there are things to like about this one. The action is good. And there are a couple other moments in the film that are good. It's just the overall package of the movie isn't that good. But man, again, I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. I really did. It's like all of 2024 has so many bad films and almost none of them are enjoyably shitty. This one is. So that's always special. And I wanted to talk about it a little bit. That's really about it. See ya. Zack Snyder has released the director's cut, the R-rated versions of Rebel Moon Part 1 and 2, and I watched both of them. I need to wash my mouth out with soap. That just hurts to say. I have become one of the preeminent experts on disliking Rebel Moon, Part 1 and 2. I hate-watched it to a level that is genuinely unhealthy. I actually watched Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver, twice. The second time was out of spite to prove a point, where I went through and painstakingly documented every single instance of slow-mo to get the exact amount of time that the film spends in slow motion, which is a curse I wouldn't wish upon my worst enemy. I also thoroughly explained the scenes that slow motion was used in, because it's just an egregious amount used for no reason most of the time in the movie. Zack Snyder has become infamous for how much slow-mo he uses, and in Rebel Moon, he doesn't even use it to emphasize cool shit. He just seems to randomly use it to fill some type of sick fetish. Like, maybe he signed a deal with the devil, and part of the contract was he has to include an extreme amount of slow motion in his movies, so he just pads the time with it. I'll go ahead and spoil the analytics for you here, I guess. So, from my calculations, when I went through and timestamped everything, it came out to 20 minutes and 56 seconds of Rebel Moon Part 2 is spent purely in slow motion, and sometimes the slow-mo goes 2 layers deep, where a slow motion scene will actually slow itself down for even more intense slow-mo, which drags it out even further. And like I said, he just randomly puts slow motion in these movies for no reason, so it's not even used in action scenes a lot of the times. So in Part 2, a lot of slow motion is used when they're farming. Slow motion farming. When they're like taking a scythe to some hay, or if they're just throwing some grain, there's a lot of slow motion tossing of grain. So if you're someone who's very enthusiastic about watching bags of grain get thrown through the air in very slow speeds, your wishes have been answered with Rebel Moon Part 2. Zack Snyder's got you covered. But anyway, on to the R-rated version. This is supposed to be like the definitive Snyder cut. This is his original vision. Apparently what he did is he filmed Rebel Moon Part 1 and 2 as R-rated films, but then chopped them up to be PG-13 for Netflix, which I think makes no sense, because it's not like you went to theaters, you went to streaming, and it's not like R-rated movies flop on streaming. Like, you could have just released the definitive cut. And now after seeing it, it's very clear that a lot was missing from Part 1 and 2, which led to the narrative being a lot weaker in what he put out. I don't know why Zack Snyder can't just release the complete version of his films the first time around. Instead, he has to double dip with a fucking follow-up cut. But I do want to make it clear, the R-rated director's cut version doesn't save either one of these films. They're still not good, but they are better. So let's start with Rebel Moon Part 1 director's cut. I wrote some notes here, so that way I didn't miss anything. There does seem to be quite a few changes well, not changes. Everything that was in the original cut is still there, so all the slow motion is still just such a fucking headache. But some of the things that were added was a lot of gore, a lot of blood, guts, and titties. And he made sure to order it with extra titty. He randomly inserts boobies here like he uses them for jump scares. I guess he really wanted to make sure to use every possible element of an R rating he could think of, but couldn't think of ways to naturally include nudity, so he just decided to just haphazardly throw it in here for some reason. And he makes sure to include some more fucks, of course. But anyway, the intro sequence to Rebel Moon Part 1, I actually thought was pretty solid. The blood and gore do help enhance the action a little bit, but the way Zack Snyder uses it makes it very reminiscent of the live-action Death Note, if you remember that on Netflix a long time ago, where people would just explode all the time like they were just these giant meat balloons that were one, like, small needle poke away from just blowing up into intestines flying over the place and blood splattering across the screen. That's how Zack Snyder uses it in this movie. So if someone gets shot, their whole fucking arm flies off, and you got like fingers and bones popping out all over the place. You know, people getting shot in the face, and all of a sudden their brain matter shoots out all over the place. Or someone gets shot in the shoulder, and it pops their butthole out of their shoulder. Like, it's actually comical. Like, seeing someone get stabbed or shot, and then just having all of their limbs explode off of them actually had me giggling a little bit. It does make the action a bit cooler, but kind of in like a silly way, if that makes sense. So, like, an example. Whenever someone uses a knife, like even just like a normal knife, they'll stab someone, and then when they take the knife out, it's this eruption of blood. Like, it's like a whole fountain of blood shoots out of them. It's so over the top that it is entertaining. But I don't know if it's on purpose, or if Zack Snyder really just thought it was cool that if someone gets like a paper cut, all of a sudden the blood shoots out like a geyser, like a volcano erupting into blood. I did like it though. Like I said, it is entertaining, but it is just kind of comical. Anytime someone gets shot, you bet your sweet bippy there's body parts getting blown off of them in every which way. But it certainly helps this movie be less boring, because Jesus Christ, the original Rebel Moon Part 1, almost impossible to stay awake for. Same with Part 2. These are snooze fest movies. So the R rating does help because you'll be dozing off because of terrible exposition and horrible writing, and then all of a sudden someone steps on a nail and their whole foot blows off and hits the screen and there's blood dripping all over the screen. You're like, oh, alright, I'm awake again. I keep going off on tangents here. I just have a whole lot to say about it because it's something special. So back to the intro sequence. I do enjoy it, but man, oh man, it's pretty fucking dumb. I wrote a couple things down. So like, there's this little alien that's in a cage, and there are some people running away as the mother world is coming after them. Everything's gone to shit, and the mother world's here wreaking havoc on this planet, about to just obliterate everyone and everything. And there's this family that's running away, and they have this little alien in a cage. Well, the alien gets dropped, and then the lead guy of the scene picks up the little alien, and he says, "They want to hurt her. I'm sorry." And then the alien, it's like this cute little CGI thing. He's like, "Okay." Well, he doesn't say okay, but he's like nodding his head like he understands this is a dire situation. So the little alien guy starts hopping around, and it's like an adorable little creature. I was rooting for him. And then he stands in front of the soldiers that are invading their world, and he does this. And then blows up. The little alien guy explodes. He just blows himself up like Voltorb casting self-destruct and takes out, I don't know, like 20 soldiers or something, which ultimately does nothing, because then just another wave of soldiers come in and murder the family and take their son to turn him into a soldier. And during this scene, Zack Snyder makes it immediately clear that there's gonna be boob. Come hell or high water, hunkers will arrive. So during this invasion, randomly, there's just like some women that are getting taken by the soldiers, and they're taking their clothes off. Like just leaving them bare ass naked and then branding them, and they do that for like 2 or 3 women, and then that's never touched on again. It's just there to illustrate like, oh, these are some like really evil people, but it's an entirely unnecessary thing to include. He's already fully established that this group is not good. They're a bunch of jerks, to say the least. Pardon my French. Like, he didn't need to do that. Like, we're watching a war, and we're watching the general do some fucked up garbage with this family, And then randomly it's like, okay, now take her clothes off. Do it now. It's like, what the fuck, Zach? Like, I get it's R-rated, but that scene didn't add anything. It was just weird. It was just like a weird thing to include, in my opinion. It really just feels like there are some moments that just come out of nowhere. Again, like the little alien doing a Chaozu impression from Dragon Ball, where like Chaozu grabs onto Nappa and blows up. That's exactly what the little alien did for no reason. And I just really get that impression that a lot of things happen here for no reason, just because he wanted to make sure people knew this is an R-rated movie. So when we first go to the farm planet, when they're on Velt, the first fucking thing we see here, I wrote this down because I wanted to make sure I got the quotes right. So they're in this village, they're in this hall, and they're talking about the upcoming harvest. And the head of the community says that the optimal way to ensure a successful, good harvest is everyone going and having sex. Like, everyone's just super horny. It's like a giant orgy community is like the first impression you get of it. He says verbatim, "Fuck hard tonight. Fuck for the harvest." Those are his exact words. Like, it's so horny for no reason. And then right after that, they play some, like, music in the hall to get everyone, like, ready to go have sex for the harvest. And then our main character, Cora, or Arthaleus, she then goes and has sex with a dude that looks like Hugh Jackman. He's also in the second movie, but I keep forgetting his name. I'm pretty sure it's Din. And the sex scene lasts for so long. It is such a long, uncomfortable scene. Like, it drags for a long time. I'm shocked there wasn't slow-mo used during the sex scene. Like, I think Zack Snyder thought he was shooting porn at this point. Like, it totally loses the plot. It didn't need to be that long. And, it's full nudity and everything, but, like, it doesn't add anything. Like, what? At no point in the rest of the film or in the second film does having sex for the harvest come up. It's just in this director's cut in the very beginning of this film, and I just don't get why. It's just because he seems to want another excuse to show honkers. Like, he just wants to have yams out at all times, I guess. But it's more than just the sex and blood that gets added to the director's cut. He added a lot of lore. So lore that really should have been there in the PG-13 version is there in this version. It's not like there's profanity or anything used in it, and there's not like gore for some of these scenes. There are just like actual world building elements in the director's cut that weren't there in the PG-13 cut, and I don't understand why. I don't get why. I got a lot more about the universe in the director's cut than I ever did in the first one. Though it doesn't help with character development, it doesn't help flesh out any characters at all. The lore bits that get added here, the tiddlywinks of lore that get included, are for the bigger scale of the world, which is helpful, obviously, but it still suffers from the same problem the PG-13 cuts do, where the characters are still so fucking flat and have no depth to them whatsoever. That was not fixed in the director's cut of these movies. And some of those scenes are actually really cool. Like, I've always said, Zack Snyder has some really cool set pieces and cool moments, but he can't write for shit. Across, 7 hours and 2 movies, he has failed to do what some TV shows capture in a single episode, making you care about the characters and the universe. He still hasn't done that, even with those director's cuts now, in my opinion. But there are some really cool scenes. He just needs to surround himself with some writers that can actually breathe life into this, and he can just focus on some cool shots, cool action. Like, that's what he is best at. I don't know why he doesn't just bring in some writing talent to help him realize these things. But anyway, I want to talk some more about some of the new additions to Rebel Moon Part 1. So, when they first meet Kai, it's pretty different here. So, they go to a brothel, because, of course, I mean, hey, R-rated Rebel Moon, baby. So they all go to a brothel, and things kind of play out similarly to the PG-13 cut when they first meet Kai and everything. However, there's a couple of things that are different. There's like a nipple robot that has some screen time for some reason, and when they leave the brothel, the nipple robot is shown coming out and then like looking in their direction. So I was actually led to believe we were about to get like a whole new DLC character here with the nipple robot, but you never see them again in the rest of that movie or in the second movie. So I don't really know what the point of the nipple robot was. Maybe just because it looked cool? Maybe? I don't really know. Anyway, though, aside from just that, there is an alien pervert who tries to have sex with Gunner. So he was trying to purchase Gunner for some sex, which gets shut down saying, hey, thanks for the offer, bub, but I'll have to pass. And then the alien pervert grabs his meat, like actually gives him the old dick twist. And for some reason, that actually, like, they hold that for a little while. So he's just there, like, fondling his balls. And I wrote down the line he says because it was a doozy. I actually rewound it so that way I could catch all of it. He said, I'm gonna fuck that pretty pink hole on his face. Bravo. Now that's cinema. Wow. Wow. That is Insano-style dialogue right there. But you should expect nothing less from Rebel Moon Director's Cut, baby. The gloves are off. I'm not just going to keep focusing on some of the weird new scenes here. It's no point in doing that. If you already had no interest in watching Rebel Moon, the Director's Cut isn't going to do anything to get you interested. Or if you already tried it and didn't like it, it doesn't do anything to make you like it more. I do think it is better, but it's also hard to have been worse. It's 3 hours and 24 minutes, so it's obviously a big time investment. You gotta set aside like a whole fucking afternoon to watch it in one sitting. But the blood and gore do add to it. I appreciate the new lore that they added with some of the scenes. And I also really liked what they did with the Dreadnought. So that really cool design with that face that has like all the tubes running in it and running out of it, which kind of powers the entire Dreadnought. They actually built a lot around that in Part 1 and Part 2. A lot is very generous, but they built around that quite a bit that set up something very big in the universe. So that is like the engine of the ship, and it's sentient. It's alive. It's kind of like this being that they've trapped and forced to power their ship for like, you know, these hyperspace jumps. And it cries. And Arthaleus is able to kind of connect with it, and we get a lot of lore about it in Part 2. And it's pretty interesting, actually. So there's a reference to her sisters that she believes will be woken up by Arthaleus after blowing her up. But it sets up this idea that there are beings like this, capable of like crazy cosmic powers that we might see down the line. So that's pretty cool. Like I did like that, and I was pretty interested in that. But anyway, let's just move on to Part 2. So Part 2, it doesn't actually have a lot different about it. A lot of what's different in Part 2 is just blood and gore. I didn't notice too many additional scenes. Part 1 I noticed quite a bit had changed, but Part 2 stayed relatively the same. So the only new scenes I noticed were obviously the stuff I was talking about with the ship's engine, and then a couple of sex scenes. So, like, there's another really long sex scene with Arthaleus and Gunner. They're switching positions. They're hitting every position in the book. They're running through the entire Kama Sutra's worth of every possible sex position. It goes on for so fucking long. Lots of moaning. Totally unnecessary. It's just uncomfortably long again. And then there's like another pseudo sex scene towards the end of the movie where we abruptly cut to Tarek and some woman post-coitus, and she sits up in bed and her breasts are just out. And Tarek looks at her and then like at her milkers, and we just hold on this scene for like 40 seconds. There's like no talking or anything, and then it just abruptly cuts back to them getting ready for the upcoming fight. It comes out of nowhere. It leads to nothing. It does nothing. I don't know who that woman was. Like, it makes no sense. Again, this just feels like Zack Snyder randomly inserting titties as much as he can. I don't know what the idea was behind it. Maybe there's a deeper message there that I missed. I'm too stupid to pick up on it. But it just seems so stupid. And then there's also another set of additional scenes where there's this group of aliens that is spying on them. So I wrote down their names. I think they're called Hawkshaws. And what they're doing is they're spying on them with these binoculars and reporting back to the Dreadnought. But it doesn't change anything. So in the PG-13 cut, everything still plays out exactly the same in the director's cut here. But the Hawkshaws are now spying on them this whole time, and it doesn't change the outcome. Nothing gets altered. They're only there a couple of times and don't add anything. They then notice that the heroes have a dropship, and right when they're about to report that to the Dreadnought, which would actually change how the story played out, they get killed by the robot. So ultimately, their scenes are completely useless. It actually felt like those scenes were filmed after the PG-13 version as just a way of putting some new stuff in the R-rated version. Like, because it doesn't contribute anything. We don't learn anything about the Hawkshaws or anything, and they don't actually matter at all. So it just feels like a completely worthless side quest that's there for no reason. And that's how I feel about a couple other scenes in part 2. They just don't lead to anything. It just feels like they're spliced in there, but don't directly tie into the plot. Like they're isolated in their own thing that doesn't actually affect the timeline. It's just, I don't get the point, really. So that was kind of stupid, but that's another new addition to the director's cut. The bulk of the new stuff in part 2 director's cut is just extended action scenes with more blood and gore, and a couple of additional action scenes with more blood and gore. Which is cool, like it helps, it makes the final fight more interesting, that's for damn sure. So the final fight, some of the slow-mo doesn't look nearly as goofy in the director's cut version as the PG-13 version, because in the PG-13 version, they'd have a slow-motion scene of someone just like falling off a bridge for 6 uninterrupted seconds and nothing's really changing, whereas here, that same scene now has like some body parts flying around and like some blood going in this direction and a couple of other things happening in the back, so it is more interesting. It does help, but it doesn't save the movie. I still think Rebel Moon Part 1 and 2 are not worth watching. They're just not very good. But if Zack Snyder had just released these complete versions the first time around, the Rebel Moon series wouldn't be nearly as much of a joke as it is right now. Because at the very least, they're not as boring. Just straight up, they're not as boring anymore. The enhanced action sequences do help in that regard. Now he just needs to bring in some writers. Maybe he'll do that for Part 3. Who knows? But yeah, I do think the director's cuts are better versions of Rebel Moon Part 1 and 2. But I still think I just wasted like 7 hours watching these. I would love if Zack Snyder could just release the full, complete version the first time around. It'd be so much better. So that way I wouldn't have to watch Rebel Moon Part 1 twice and Rebel Moon Part 2 3 fucking times. But yeah, I mean, I didn't have to do that, but I did anyway. That's about it. So yeah. I've seen thousands of movies, but there's only one line that I still think about often. And it's not what you're expecting. It's not like a cool line, you know, are you not entertained? I am your father. I came here to kick ass and chew bubblegum and I'm all out of bubblegum. Nothing like that. This line is actually from 50 Shades of Grey. And it stands the test of time as the worst piece of dialogue I've ever heard make it into the final cut of a film. I don't know how many of you have actually tried reading 50 Shades of Grey, but it's written as if it's fan fiction from a different planet. It's not hot or even like sexual half the time, it's just like goofy and silly. It's more of a comedy than it is an erotic novel. That's actually where I learned the term sodden panties, which has been deeply woven into my vernacular since. Back when I was undercover as an erotic poet named Genghis Swan, I read so much god-awful sexual schlock fantasy, yet none of it was as poorly written as 50 Shades of Grey. There's an author named Chuck Tingle who makes books that are like Dr. Bigfoot Attorney at Lard took my butthole, or the reptiles from the 9th dimension sucked my butt dry, and those are better written than 50 Shades of Grey. I'm not exaggerating, and I know it's low-hanging fruit to pick apart 50 Shades of Grey writing, but I need to set the stage here. When 50 Shades of Grey went from the book to the big screen, I was a little worried they would have cleaned up the writing, but they didn't. It is still so unbelievably poorly written for the films. I was so happy. I was elated. So let me go ahead and show you my favorite line in cinema history, an actual masterpiece of disaster when it comes to writing.
Are you gonna make love to me now?
Two things. First, I don't make love. I fuck. Hard.
And the second thing.
Come.
The greatest 24 seconds of your life. I have no doubt about that. You're welcome. Let's break that down, because that's poetry. Are you going to make love to me now? I don't make love. I fuck. Hard. Bro, I'm fucking squirting. What a line. And I feel like her reaction to that information, where she's like licking her lips and shit, was trying to like hold in a laugh. I imagine this is like the 50th take, because each time they couldn't do it with a straight face, so they had to keep trying. It's just so good, but it's not perfect. If I was the director, I would have put the kibosh on the second part of that statement, because he says it's two things, but the first thing is the only one that matters. The second thing is just come. All he says is come. So what should have happened is, she says, "Are you going to make love to me now?" Christian Grey responds by putting his finger over her lips. Shh. I don't make love. I steam ham. The line's negotiable. I can be flexible there. We'd have to consult a test audience to see what really hits the hardest and what's the hottest. Maybe I don't make love, I boink. I don't make love, I mash pissers. I don't know. But something like really, with a lot of chutzpah to it. So I really wish they didn't have that second line in there, but even still, this is an incredible line that I often do think about. It's also just extremely versatile. You can use this in so many situations. Like, let me paint you a picture. You're at Rainforest Cafe getting dinner with the boys, and you excuse yourself to go to the bathroom. When you get back, one of your friends is like, "Hey Charlie, I noticed you were in the bathroom for a long time. Were you taking a shit?" Shit? I don't shit. I dump. Poop. There's just so many ways of using this, line, and it's so goddamn sexy every single time. Yeah, I've heard this line by now, maybe 20-something times over the years, and it's still so good. It's a fine wine that I'll often stir around, aerate a bit, and huff. It's just fucking wonderful. I don't make love. I fuck. Hard. Actual goosebumps. Yeah, that's really all I wanted to talk about today, because I got to thinking about it, so I figured I might as well share it, because maybe some of you didn't see the 50 Shades of Grey movie, and you're doing yourself a massive disservice by avoiding the trilogy here. One of the finest trilogies of all time, up there with Lord of the Rings and the original Star Wars trilogy, I'll tell you what. The movies are basically like a giant anime montage, but with, censored sex. You see titty every now and then, and some butt, a little bit of ass, and that's about it, and it's always set to modern pop music. That's it. You just get a little montage of simulated intercourse. So, if that's your cup of tea, 50 Shades of Grey is for you. But I do think they are entertainingly bad at certain points. Example, this line. This whole interaction, really. So yeah, that's about it. See ya. This is embarrassing for me to admit, but I haven't watched the Nicolas Cage movie in years. I pride myself on being a virtuoso of rotten dogshit bad movies, and Nicolas Cage is like the Jesus Christ of terrible movies. And I haven't indulged in any of his fine cinematic masterpieces in way too long. And I watched a video from Elvis the Alien the other day where he reviews a movie called Between Worlds, which is a Nicolas Cage-fronted hemorrhoid, and I thought that looked extraordinary. So I decided to sit down and watch it myself today, and this is probably one of the best so bad it's good movies I've seen in quite some time. So I figured we'll go through it, not exactly as thoroughly as Elvis did. He did the whole movie. I'm just going to focus on my favorite parts and what makes this movie so goddamn special. So please join me on this adventure as we travel through space, time, and Nicolas Cage's flaccid cock flopping around. This movie does have a lot of Nicolas Cage having sex with a lot of titties and rock and roll, so I'm going to have to censor a good bit of it, unfortunately. One of the opening shots of the film, so you know you're in for a treat. It opens with a man's ass crack and slowly panning up the crack like they're reverse swiping a credit card through it, and then we see Nicolas Cage wandering in here looking like he just stepped out of a time machine. So Nicolas Cage plays a truck driver, but a badass truck driver, a truck driver who looks like he could be a biker. And throughout the film you'll notice that it looks like Nicolas Cage has covered himself in grease and hair gel, like every ounce of his body seems to be mildly damp. as if he's fallen into a pit of Vaseline, and the director just said, fuck it, it doesn't matter, we don't have time to clean him, we'll just film the whole thing today while he's covered in this kind of thin layer of filth. This whole interaction looks like a glitch in a video game where two NPCs are trying to talk to each other, but the dialogue is rendered incorrectly, so you have the wrong lines in the wrong places. Ring it up, Ricardo. Can I interest you in dessert? Keep the change. Waves a hot dog. It just feels so fucking weird. It's like somebody wrote this that's not an actual human. Like, this is like evidence of reptilians analyzing human behavior. What do humans like? Well, they like hot dogs. They like to keep change. That sounds like a good interaction for the first shot. Why don't you wrestle a man-gator? I don't know what that means, but shit, it sounds scary. I mean, if someone tells me to wrestle a man-gator, I'm saying, fuck no. That's like some Batman Arkham Knight shit with Man-Bat or something. I don't know what the man-gator is. Sounds like some type of cryptozoology myth, like the Loch Ness Monster. Like, oh god, the man-gator's real, he just came in and fucked my grandpa. Tell the papers. I don't know what the fuck a man-gator is, but he really showed that guy. Nicolas Cage busting shit in to save the woman and beat a man who was hurting her, and then scaring him and putting the fear of God in him by bringing up the legendary man-gator.
What did you do?
I saved you.
Honestly, a pretty dumb question from this girl right here. What did you do? I mean, he wasn't keeping it a secret. He did it right in front of you. You saw with your own eyes. He punched and then kicked the man. I'm no detective, and I was able to sniff out what happened. That is potentially one of the best moments I've seen in a Nicolas Cage movie. What a bait and switch, huh? Do you have kids? Do I have kids? What about a family? Do you like my family? Yeah, they're fucking dead! You goddamn idiot! What, you couldn't tell that they were dead by the picture? Like, immediately they're trying to establish that Nicolas Cage is a fucking weirdo. But for no reason, because the rest of the movie, his weirdness isn't like a key component of anything. He's just fucking psychotic and odd for the sake of being some kind of strange weirdo that parents would warn their kids to stay in school to avoid becoming.
Holy shit. Oh, I don't know. Could you give me a lift to Mobile?
So immediately coming off like a crazy person who escaped Arkham Asylum by saying, oops, his family's dead, she asks him to give her a ride to the hospital where her 18-year-old daughter was recently in an accident and is just coming out of a coma. Now, I can't understand at all why the fuck she would ask this madman to give her a ride when she was getting in her own vehicle to drive herself there. He literally ripped her out of her own car in order to call her a buster again and talk about what had happened. So she had her way of getting to the hospital herself, but for some reason insisted that this total fucking lunatic stranger at the gas station, who probably smells like 15 bags of Doritos that were mixed in with raw sewage, give her a ride to the hospital instead. Makes sense.
When I was a teenager, I almost...
That's going to be a common theme when it comes to the sex scenes, which there is a lot. When Nicolas Cage fucks, it sounds like war. It sounds like he's declaring war on vagina. He starts getting real fucking wild and screaming like he's trying to scare a bear away. And he doesn't give a fuck about collateral damage. Here he just slaps a lamp down and breaks it. In this woman's house, it's not even his lamp. He just says, get this shit out of here. I don't like things watching me.
Out of here.
Giddy up.
I'd love to see what the script of this disaster looks like. Like, what the fuck is the point? Okay, so, like I said, I'm only covering, like, the best moments that I really like in the movie. To kind of fill in the blanks here and connect the dots for you, Billy gets to leave the hospital. They bring her to Julie and Nicolas Cage's house here. Nicolas Cage doesn't live here. He's just staying with Julie for a little while because she's starting to feel for him. And now Billy's here. She has all kinds of medicine and shit. And for some reason, Nicolas Cage just takes a swig while he's hugging Julie, which plays no role in anything. He just does it because he's a fucking lunatic. Like, I'm surprised he didn't just put it up his fucking butthole right in front of her and then say, giddy up and slap himself and the fucking medicine squirts out or something. It's, like, everything he does and everything he says is just fucking weird. Like, the whole daddy tight. But it's weird for no reason. Typically, when a movie tries to portray a character like this, it's working towards something, but I'm gonna spoil the surprise and ruin Christmas now. It's working towards nothing. He's just weird because he's a fucking weirdo. It doesn't play. I'll take a moment to fill you in on what's going on with the story here, if you can even call this a story. So, in a nutshell, Nicolas Cage drives trucks. Nicolas Cage sucks at his job. He took 3 days off to hang out and fuck Julie here and help with Billy's recovery, and understandably his boss wasn't too happy about that. And he's saying, look man, can you at least give me some money that I'm owed from you not doing your job? And Nicolas Cage is upset about that. And during all of this, Billy's acting very strange towards Nicolas Cage and gives him a hand job under the covers one time. But he doesn't tell Julie, and Billy doesn't tell Julie. So now Nicolas Cage, being the suave gentleman he is getting some action from both Julie and Julie. Nicolas Cage confides in Julie about what happened to his family. His wife's cigarette lit the couch on fire, which killed his wife and his daughter in a tragic fire. And then explains why the truck means so much and that $500 needs to be paid or else he doesn't get the truck or some shit like that. So Julie goes into town to pay it for him, being the nice woman that she is, and while she's in town, Nicolas Cage fucks her daughter. But it's not actually Julie's daughter Billy he's fucking, it's his wife Mary in Billy's body because Julie made a colossal fuck up when bringing the soul back into Billy's body. Instead of bringing Billy's soul back into Billy's body, she brought Mary's soul into Billy's body because Mary has been haunting Nicolas Cage.
Oh, God, you're such a little tart. Such a little tart.
You're such a little tart. I mean, this script, it's like if Attaway General was written in collaboration with the lady who wrote 50 Shades of Grey, and both of them were overdosing on Xanax while writing it. Who the fuck would say that during sex? Oh, you're such a little tart. Ooh, a little tart. Oh, you little silly munchkin. Ooh. Like, it's just fucking odd. So yeah, now after Nicolas Cage is convinced that this is his wife Mary in Billy's body, they start fucking a lot, and he's kind of tired of Julie now.
Put your fucking pants on! You're gross!
Well, I don't know what makes you say that, but...
After he's been caught red-handed, busted nuts and all, he starts telling her that no, that's not her daughter Billy, it's his wife Mary, and he starts pursuing her in the same way he did earlier, but this time not calling her Buster, and he has his wiener out the whole time. So, and then in his defense, she did go a little far in calling him gross because his wiener's flopping around. I think that was a little bit rude, like, it's not like they haven't fucked 10 times in the movie already, okay? So his cock can't be that disgusting. So, you know, I could see that being a bit of a low blow, and as you can see from Nicolas Cage's reaction, he found it to be a bit rude as well. Overall, I do think the movie is so bad it's good in a lot of ways. It's fun to make fun of, but there is a lot of time in this movie that drags a lot, where there's nothing goofy happening or shitty happening. It's just actual silence, which kind of sucks, but in a way that's also kind of silly, because the silence is just out of nowhere. Like, they'll be mid-conversation, and then all of a sudden everything stops, and they just, like, fall asleep with their eyes open in front of each other. So yeah, overall, I enjoyed it, and probably one of Nicolas Cage's finest works. That's about it. You're watching Splash TV Movie Review. So I just saw Warcraft. It was the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. You should be absolutely fucking ashamed of yourself. I have no idea how you sleep at night.
I think whatever...
Just shut your mouth. You're sounding very silly right now. I'm not even asking you questions. I just want to insult you. That's why I brought you here. You see, there was this one time, this woman had her tits right next to me, so I reached out and I grabbed them just like this right here. Now, why am I telling you this? Well, your movie was like a pair of tits that was near me that I didn't want to reach out and grab. You feel me? I just didn't like your movie.
Well, I'm not really sure. So I guess you have to tell me if it feels more like a place with a geography that you understand.
Are you calling me stupid? You think I don't know shit about geography? Give me a globe and I can point to any continent, country, state, city, town, tribe. I can point to fucking Narnia on that shit.
You're very fortunate. Well, you're coming to Fellowship of the Ring as a Tolkien reader. A lot of our audience is coming to Warcraft as Warcraft players. So I think there is an equivalence in that.
You want to talk equivalence, pussy fart? I got one for you. Your movie is equivalent to a pile of fermenting dog shit. The script sounds like it was written by a 4-year-old in their coloring book as they were drowning and suffering from heat exhaustion.
Well, I don't believe that's the case. There was a pre-existing script, so Charles Levitt's script. What I did was an aggressive polish with some structural changes in order to put more emphasis onto the orc characters, because I felt like, so that seemed like a necessary change to make. I felt comfortable making those changes.
Pardon me, can you stop rudely interrupting my insults, please? Thank you. This is the Adam Rosser Show. This is a new form of roasting. You're getting Rossered, bitch. Now look, last week I wrote up an entire page of insults I wanted to say to your face. By this morning, I had expanded it into an entire book of insults that I'm ready to unleash upon that candy rectum of yours. So if you keep up this attitude, I'm doing the whole book. And it will be insurmountable.
It would be insurmountable if I was trying to tell that book as a movie.
Trust me, you wouldn't want to turn this book into a movie. I'm yanking your chain. This book isn't even of insults. It's actually just the hardcover The Outsiders book, and it's already been made into a movie, so someone beat you to the punch on that one. But this isn't about The Outsiders. This is about your shit movie. So let's talk about why it was bad and how we can improve it. If you want me to write the sequel, I'll be more than happy to. So it's pretty clear you wanted to tell a story with this movie. I was able to gather that much. Now, let's talk about a movie that did this much better than yours. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. You see, they had a story to tell, and they told it. And there's even some more comparisons I can make. The TMNT group, they're green turtles. Your orcs, they're green for the most part. Why were the Ninja Turtles so much cooler than your stupid fucking orcs? I didn't even see any nunchucks. In TMNT, they had a dump truck with nunchucks on it. I didn't even see a dump truck in your movie. So, you lost me right away. I was not invested in your movie at all like I was in the TMNT movie. So, TMNT 1, Warcraft 0.
I think it depends on how you view the film in the first place.
I view it as an inferior Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles ripoff.
I think that we've been able to deliver a film that works for two audiences, those who love Warcraft and know it, and those who don't. And I think it's a big, fun, sprawling fantasy film.
Nope, just stop right there. I've had enough. You only came on here to get a rise out of me.
Okay.
Well, let me tell you, the only thing rising is my ass cheeks from this chair. You're not worth my time. You've been Rossered, bitch. Cowabunga, fuckboy.
Hello, sir.
Get away from me.
Joe. Hey, Steve, how you doing?
How much of my ass do you think you could eat?
Not much, sir.
Well, that's disappointing. Let's go, Joe. Steve, stay here. Take a seat. Because you're fired. Greetings.
Hi.
He's looking good, nurse. Do you think he'll be able to kiss me on the mouth?
No way, his lips are burned.
Ah!
So what, he'll never be able to talk again?
Or worse.
Oh, he'll talk again, but you just have to give him a couple of weeks. Next time, guys, catch him in one piece.
I won't be doing that.
Do you like what you see?
I love what I see.
Would you like to touch what you see?
She has shoulders like a linebacker.
Yes, I would.
Would you like to go out with me?
I'm just standing here.
Yes, I would.
That's a big decision.
Would you like to fuck me?
Ooh.
Bingo.
Smooth.
Well, then let's see what you've got.
Fuck was that sound?
Doesn't interest me. Nothing there.
Nothing there?
Can I come over there and feel for myself?
Just exactly what would interest you? Something the size of a jumbo jet?
Whoop, there's a stiffy. I love aircrafts.
Have you been circumcised?
Yeah, I have. Why?
Well, your doctor must have cut a big portion of it off.
No, he was a good doctor.
My eyebrows itch and I can't scratch them.
Mistakes, too. That's why they buy insurance.
Hey, don't worry. I got enough. It's big.
I want bigger.
Then you get away from him and get off your hedonic treadmill while you're at it. Don't worry about her, Joe. Just remember what Robert Hartman taught us about axiology.
Shut up.
Drink my ass then, Joe. All I'm saying is according to axiology, it's not wrong or unethical to have a small dick. It's all about the value people place on it. Don't you agree, Steve? You know what, don't even say anything because I don't care, Steve. Have a good night, ladies. Joe has a small cock.
Hi, Joe. Hi, Frank. How you doing?
Joe has a small zigzagged wiener. A nurse grabbed it, she didn't like it.
Okay, sir.